What is up, Nico Nation? Coming at you live. This is the YouTube original series, Snap Count, our seasonal NFL news series, where we highlight all news surrounding the NFL. I'm your host, Niko Chambers, Nico the Draft Guy, you can call me, alongside my co-host, P-Dunn. P-Dunn, what's up, man?
What's up, bro? I'm stoked for this one. This one's going to be awesome. Huge week we just got on the other side of a lot of storylines, a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm stoked to get right into this one.
For all of our guys coming from the Draft Guys podcast, we welcome you. This is, of course, our scouting combine video where we talk about everything. We're going to talk about the risers and fallers, the draft diamonds, and then we're going to show you our first individual mocks of the year, our 3.0, though, together as a group. It's going to be a great one. Without further ado, though, let's just get rolling right into it with the stock market. And you see the stocks of the risers and the fallers from this year. Peyton, you see the graphic on screen. What comes to mind?
There's a lot here. We'll start with Lorenzo Styles. Blazing fast time that he had. Was really good to see that. Obviously led the safeties. One of the greatest 40 times we've ever seen from a safety. Unfortunately, it's not going to rise his stock that much, just like the graphic shows. He didn't get a lot of playing time at Ohio State. He played, but I don't think he projects super well to the next level. So that's definitely a guy we had to talk about. Definitely have to talk about Caleb Banks as we're starting to move up that list. And then I'll pass it over to you. I think he had an awesome week. Everything we were expecting from him, he went out there and he showed. He's a amazing athlete for his size, amazing athlete for his weight to go along with the amazing tape. So I think he's a fantastic player. We don't know a lot about the medicals, and we'll maybe hear some more about that as we continue to go through this process. But from what he had in his control throughout this week, he absolutely killed it.
I'm going to talk about a guy who I think dipped a little bit. Makai Lemon was not high on him as it was, and the interviews looked
Yeah.
very, very strange and suspect. And I don't know what was going on. I don't know who trained him for these things, but that is not a good look at all. Once again, was not high on him. I could see him pulling a Matthew Golden, very similar to last year, late first rounder, who doesn't do much in his first year. But obviously, Sonny Styles was the big storyline. I mean, that'll take us into the next segment. I mean, one of the best combines we've ever seen. A 4.46 40-yard dash, a 43.5-inch vertical, and an 11-2 broad jump, first along among linebackers throughout. Where does what does this mean for his stock? Where is he going to go in the draft? Like, you couldn't have drawn it up any better for the Styles family.
No, you can't. And seeing the way he's projected in these post-combine mock drafts, like, I mean, we said it before, like his ceiling's 2, 3, like as high as he can go now. Like this is not, we've talked about it before. This is not last year's draft class. This is not next year's draft class. This is not a super strong draft class with top tier talent. And when with a year like that, this is, I mean, I've said it before, and I think people are, we've talked about it like this is truly a generational linebacker prospect. It's Sonny Styles says. He's truly generational. This is you get a prospect like this once every 5 to 10 years at this position. And in a draft class like that, like there's GMs at the top that are just gonna be like, I'm just taking the best player available. Like I'm gonna take him. And with the combine, with the tape, with how incredible he played throughout the season, like man, what a week for Sonny Styles. The stock is through the roof.
He's 6'5", 250, and he's moving like that. Are we serious? Like,
I don't
like
know,
that is
man.
outrageous. I like mankind cannot fathom that. That is just unbelievable. Another guy who had an unbelievable week was David Bailey. I mean, a 4.50 40-yard dash for a edge defender is pretty ridiculous, and a 10.9 broad jump.
Yeah.
Um, where does he rank on your list for the edges, and how high did his stock go?
Um, Truth be told, like my stock wasn't that impacted by this week. I think he needed to have a good week. I'm a little bit lower on him than consensus. I think I have him as, let's see, I have my big board pulled up. I have him right now at 16 on my big board. So I'm a little lower on him. I do see him still as a pass rush specialist, but he's not super bendy. He doesn't have a lot of bend to him. He's just really athletic, and so um, I like I like a lot about him. I just don't think he's, a top five player the way some people do. He needed to have a good week. He did have a good week. He had a great week. So there's no question marks athleticism wise. And there is some give that he has in the run game. I think he's developed that over last year. So maybe he'll rise up a little bit for me. But for someone that was high on him coming in, if I was in that shoes and I really like David Bailey, nothing's changes here. Like he did everything he was asked to do this week. He killed it.
You mentioned bend, and there's a guy who really knows how to bend. That's Ruben Bain. He didn't participate this week at all on
Yeah.
field or workouts, but he did get his measurements, and his measurements came in with T-Rex arms. How do
Yeah.
you feel about that as a scout?
I don't know. It's interesting. There's the two main, we did our pre-combine show, and it's two things. One of the things I wanted to talk about was Spencer Fano's arms and Ruben Bain's arms. That was a bullet point that I had going into the week, and both of them were worse than expected, right? And so comparing those two positions between an offensive tackle and a defensive lineman, I am specifically an edge rusher. Like I am more worried about Fano's arms than I am Ruben Bain's arms. And I already had a lot of question marks about Fano. I don't have as many question marks about Bain. So yes, he did drop on my list. I had him as a top five player. I have him at 8 right now. So he did drop a little bit, but he's not dropping a lot. A lot. I don't think he wins with arm length. He didn't win last year primarily based off of taking advantage of tackles due to is he didn't just magically his arms didn't shrink. He knows how to win with short arms, right? And so he won in a multitude of ways that he knows how to adjust and work around that. And so I trust that yes, it's going to get harder at the next level, but everything gets harder at the next level. And so I think that he's going to be able to adjust. I still have faith in him. Spencer Fano, on the other hand, uh, that one's tough. I don't know how he's going to get around that one. That one's tough.
Yeah, he dropped, Fano dropped a lot. I will say Ruben Bain did drop some in mine. I think he's at number 7 now. I think he was at number 2 earlier. It'll be interesting to see. Cassius Howell was another guy with the shortest arms in combine history since 1999. And he was one of the edge 4 or 5 on that list. That's definitely going to hurt his stock. It should be ultimately very interesting to see. That'll take us into, though, our draft diamonds from the week. And PDunn, we'll go back and forth here every other. Label your first guy here.
I think the biggest um, winner out of this group is the guy that upped his stock the most was Jacob Rodriguez. Like this dude, and there's something to watching a guy on film and saying like, wow, he doesn't look like a good athlete. And then he goes and tests as a good athlete. There's still something to that okay, what's wrong? Like why are you thinking too much? Is your play strength down? Is your play speed down? Like why did I think watching your film that you weren't a good athlete? But he went out there and the whole thing with him was like, you don't need to test great. You just don't need to test bad. And he tested good. Like his numbers were great. Like he ran better than I thought he was going to do. He was quicker than I thought he was going to do. Like he jumped better than I thought he was going to jump. He's more explosive than I thought he was going to be. Like I was very impressed with him. And so with a guy that you like as a, kind of watching him and be like, okay, you're a really good college player, but are you athletic enough to play in the NFL? Like I think he's athletic enough to play in the NFL. And so a guy that was probably going to be a third, fourth, fifth round pick is now back end of the second, which is really impressive in how strong this linebacker class is. He rose his stock a bunch, at least for me.
I mean, on the film, you see it. He's a ball magnet. The stats are ridiculous. He got some of the best stats from a linebacker I've ever seen. I think he was like 5th in Heisman voting or something. Like, he's unbelievable. And yeah, for him to have a really good week, very impressed by him. Another guy I was impressed by was Zane Durant. An 89 on the athleticism score that ranks second for defensive tackles. A 4.75 40 for a guy who's 290 pounds. Really, really impressive. He had a 1.66 10-yard split. You know, he was a guy who, like you just said with Rodriguez, he's probably a 4th, 5th round pick, and he may be playing his way into the 3rd round now.
Yeah.
Super excited for him.
Yeah, bumping over to Monroe Freeling, a guy that, you and me were texting recently, and I said that I kind of believe that I have this feeling he's going to be the first offensive tackle off the board. And so You coming in, you knew that he was going to be big. You knew his arms were going to be good. You knew he was going to be. I mean, he's 6'7" with 34 and 3/4 arms, 315. That's a perfect offensive tackle ability, especially when everybody else is not that. Like Fano is not that. Maui Noah is not that. And so not only that, but he went out, he had a 171 10-yard split. He had 33-inch vertical, 9.7 broad jump. He ran a 4.93 in the 40. Like this dude is a fantastic athlete with a fantastic build, and I think he had better tape towards the back half of the season than I was expecting him to. He started off slow. There was talks that, maybe this would project as a guard, and there was a lot of talks that, I wasn't even expecting him to be in this draft class with someone that, had an up and down season, ended high, but this is someone that entered. I think he got a lot of good heard a lot of good things in the early draft process through a lot of scouts and decided to put his name in this draft. And I think it's going to be a really good decision that he did. This combine absolutely elevated his stock. I can see him, like I said, I think he might be the first offensive tackle off the board.
Yeah, we don't have that consensus offensive tackle in this class, so we could definitely take it if it's there. I'll talk about a defensive tackle, Lee Hunter, and on paper, eye test, he didn't have the best combine, but you got to remember this guy is 320 pounds, 6'4".
Not
For
everybody can
me,
be
the
Caleb
big thing.
Banks.
That's what I'm saying. And the big thing for me is that, he had an 82 productivity score, which out of the defensive tackles was first ranked. I thought his drills were great. I thought he moved super well for his size. And I think the big thing for him is, I see him as a nose tackle. He's a bulldoze rusher. His production ironically comes when the play shifts outside. And that usually isn't the case for one of those nose tackles because usually they're the ones, terrorizing the offense and then the edge rushers get the sack or something else like that. But he still has production. He still has numbers. I think he's shockingly good laterally. Um, I'm excited for him, and I don't think his combine really did that much for him. But Caden McDonald did not have a good combine, and I think that because of that, he plays into the defensive tackle number 3 role.
I like that. Last guy on this list for me is going to be Eli Stowers. Holy smokes, what a combine. Broke the record for a vertical jump by all tight ends ever by 2 inches. He jumped 45.5. That was his vert. Crazy. This dude came in 6'4", 239, ran a 4.5 40-yard dash, 1.59 10-yard split. Just like bonkers numbers. And this is a guy that you're not he's anything but an inline tight end. He's closer to a receiver than he is a tight end. And so you're gonna have to have a plan for him. But everything he was throughout the season with the route running, with the creativity, with the able to get open, you compare that with these athletic numbers, man, I'm not super high on Sadiq. Stowers might be pushing for that tight end one role for me. What a combine, bro. What a combine.
That is unreal. I mean, yeah, on paper, matchup nightmare. Like you said it best, he's not an inline tight end. He's a matchup nightmare. If there's any nickel corner or a coverage linebacker, they can't guard him. He's too big, he's too strong, he's too fast. I'll move in to the guy, the boy, Dylan Thieneman. I mean, 86 on the athletic score. That ranked first among safeties, a 4.35 40 with a 1.52 10-yard split. I mean, this guy, 41-inch vert, 10 and a half inch broad. He put up, well, I don't know, 16, 18 reps on the bench. Like this dude is a dog. And for me, he's the safety too. I think he comes over Emmanuel Nickel Warren. Um, he's a true over the field free safety. He's got so much production in the first 3 years of college, especially that freshman year. And I'm just super excited, just so excited to see where his stock is because he might have played his way into the first round. And I don't know how many safety needy teams are going to take a safety in the first round, but he will 100% be a second round player. That'll move us in to the offense. And there was a ton of offensive stardom this week, specifically with the best running back prospect that I think we've seen in years, Jeremiah Love. Of course, Sadiq's up there. We're going to talk about him. And then the quarterbacks. But PDunn, you saw Jeremiah Love. You love Jeremiah Love. Tell me, how do you rank him after this combine?
I mean, if Sonny Styles wasn't a generational player the way he is, like Jeremiah Love would be the top player in this class for me. And it's close. I think I've said this before. I think he's the best running back prospect since Bijan, and I think he's not Bijan, but he's close. And he's everything you watch on film. I mean, I could talk about this dude for hours. Like it's just the patience is amazing behind the line of scrimmage. And once he's outside those tackles, you're done. But if he's inside the tackles and you're just one-on-one in the phone booth, you're not tackling him. Like he's so shifty that the elite speed, like I mean, he did not need to run a 40. And he could have I don't even know who told him to do that. It was a terrible idea, but he killed it anyway. And so he only had stuff to lose and he still killed it. He gained every like he's just so good. He's a fantastic prospect. Again, same conversation with Styles. Like there's gonna be a GM, Cardinals at 3, Titans at 4. It's like I just know I'm gonna get one of the like he's gonna walk into the league, be a top 3 running back, and I'm gonna have that on my team for the next 5 years. Like you don't get that every year. And so with a draft class like this, him, Styles, Downs, like these guys are gonna go earlier than people expect.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. The drop off for RB2 in this class is massive. We still don't know who it is. Jadorian Price could be it. I think
Mike
the
Washington.
man, Mike Washington, really
Yeah.
raised his sights. I
Yeah.
think for me, he's the RB3. But at the same time, we have a prospect who ran the same 40-yard dash time as Love as a tight end. I mean, how do you explain that? I mean, a 43.5-inch vert as a tight end, an 11-1 broad, and 26 reps on the bench press. That's Kenyon Sadiq for you. One of the best tight end prospects we've seen since Kyle Pitts. PDunn, how do you sort out this guy?
I mean, what an athlete. The whole conversation with him is I remember when we first revealed our big boards and I was a little lower on him is he's not a great separator, he's not a great route runner, he's a really bad blocker. But like he's the best athlete we've ever seen at the tight end position. Like I've never scouted this superior of an athlete than I have Sadiq. And he went out there and somehow did better than everyone was expecting him to do. Like you see the stuff, it's the opposite of Rodriguez. And it's like you see him on tape and he's all athlete, and then he comes out here and he still does better. Like it's it was mind-blowing to watch. He's so raw and there's so much talent to be um uncovered there. If you can get him in a system that can develop him he doesn't need to be an elite. He doesn't need to be a Brock Bowers type of route runner. He just needs to be just a little better. And he's one of the best tight ends in the league for a long time. He's so athletic. I mean, truly, truly one of the best athletes we have ever seen on the offensive side of the ball, at least since I've been doing scouting.
Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable. I think someone's going to trade up for him. Maybe you'll get the sneak peek in a few minutes when you see my mock draft. But at the same time, we have some quarterbacks, and I don't know if anyone's going to really trade up for a quarterback in this class. However, I think we got a better gist of who is 1, 2, and 3. Pete, who is your 1, 2, and 3 quarterback in the 2026 class?
Well, we'll take apart Mendoza because I think that's he's obvious quarterback 1 for most
Yep.
people. I think Tyson close. I think he went out there and he showed everything that he needed to. I think the one of the things that I struggled with film is on him is his arm got loose sometimes. He didn't always have it. The throwing motion didn't feel as repeatable as a Mendoza does. Now, I think that's actually in a roundabout way, I think that's a plus for Simpson is because I think that he still had a really accurate arm. And I've talked about before, I grade him as an A- arm. And so to have that with the concerns, like you said, he went out there and the mechanics were good this week. He looked healthy. To see him put on the weight that he lost from the offseason, to see him with a healthy rib, with a healthy lower back, with some of the injuries he was struggling with this season, and just see him just throw the football. And I know he killed his interviews. I know everything went well for him. I'm tight end too. He's my quarterback too. I've talked about it before. I'm high on Klubnik. I see something there with him. A huge, and we've had this conversation with Mendoza and Simpson before. Like, I need to see the quarterback's ability to go through reads and the progression of a NFL style offense, to be able to hit that backside dig and to be able to hit that backside read when you're 1, 2, 3, 4 and then get the ball out. Klubnik does that better than Nussmeier does. He does that better than Aller does. And he does that way better than Taylor Green does. And some of these Sawyer Robinson or any of these other quarterbacks in this draft. And so I trust that. And he has enough arm talent that I think he's projectable. I have a third round grade on him right now. I'd tell you what, Aller's going to be probably one of my favorite prospects on day three to take. I mean, just like everybody, if you can get him in the fifth, sixth round, right? He'll probably end up going in the fourth if I had to guess. But get him in a system that just lets him sit and develop. He's just so toolsy. The arm's incredible. There's so much concern there, but just off of a pure athletic standpoint, like somebody's gonna fall in love with him and take a chance on him, just like we've seen a million times.
It would be crazy. This is kind of unrelated, but I saw some reports about the Browns being interested in Simpson. Is that crazy to
Yeah,
do?
yeah, that's crazy. That's not how you build a franchise. Like that's you have no offensive linemen, you have no weapons. You have a good running back, but you have no weapons. Like you you have a good defense, but I mean, that would be terrible. That would literally be taking his career and like throwing gasoline on it and setting on fire.
Well, the Browns have two first round picks. You have to remember that. So maybe that late pick at 24 could be a suitor, but we really doubt it. But that'll move us into our mock drafts. And I know PDunn has a little shakeup at 6 for you guys, and I'll reveal it right here. And PDunn, you have the floor. Let us know what you have with your mock draft.
Well, do we start at the top or do we start at six? Because I think six is the most exciting part. The front's pretty chalk. I just realized I have four Ohio State players going back to back to back to back, which is pretty funny. But we talked about Styles going at three. I think that's something that could really happen with the Cardinals, just getting the best player available. Also Jeremiah Love's spot. I took the Titans. It was either between Love and Tate, and I had them going with Tate. I think that they need to invest. I have more faith in them developing a good run game right now than I do them getting a new number one receiver. So I'm going to take Tate there. And talking at six, we've talked about it before. We hit on him a little bit ago. I think he's going to be the top offensive tackle taken in this draft. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm talking myself into it. He is the best um, fit for to walk in the door and be a left tackle for an NFL franchise right now. And so I'm trusting the good tape. Trusting that he's on an upward trajectory, and it was, someone that got better as the year went on. He didn't play a lot of football, and so I'm trusting that upward trajectory, along with that athleticism, along with that build, he's probably going to end up as my OT1 in this class. And so, moving down the board a little bit, I went McCoy at 9 to the Chiefs. An interesting pick for them because I think with Ruben Bain off the board, Jeremiah Love off the board, those are usually the two people I like to mock to them the most. And so you kind of hope that one of those players falls to them and that's who they're going to take. And they did in this situation. And so with the talks of them thinning out that cornerback room and maybe moving on, I think that you get a replacement in McCoy, someone that can walk in the door. I continue to be my CB1 in this class. Falk at 10, he just feels like a Bengal. Like that's just who they like to draft. They like to draft that build. And so I gave him there. I don't like it for Falk. I don't think that's where he needs to go, but I've heard that report before. I've seen that before. Um, I'm gonna I don't know. We'll see if that happens. We'll see if I stick with that. Simpson at 13 of the Rams. This feels like something that it makes too much sense in my head. There's a core. I know these teams are seeing what I'm seeing. I think he's going to be higher on people's boards by the end of this draft process. I feel like I'm just early to the Ty Simpson train. And that 13, when you have the opportunity to not only let him sit behind Matthew Stafford, but sit in a McVay offense for a year before you give him the reins. Stafford's getting older. How much better do you feel about Ty Simpson sitting behind them and having him as a future franchise quarterback than you do Drew Aller or Carson Beck or any of these other options? This is a free first round pick you got from the Falcons. You're never going to be at 13 again, hopefully, with the way that the Rams have been playing. Get your quarterback, get somebody that you don't deserve to draft because you're at 29. Get him while you can. Moving down the board a little bit. I took Maui Noah to the Lions at 17. I feel like that was an interesting pick. I haven't seen that one a lot. They need some help on that offensive line. That offensive line got old fast, and I trust that he can has that inside outside flexibility. Um, let's see. What else do we have here? Fano falling to 22. This is me projecting him as a guard. Obviously, they are they are really good at tackle, so they don't need any more tackles. But this is me taking him as guard. I feel like with the way that the week shook out, the tape that I saw, I've been projecting him at guard for a while, just based off film. And with the way that the arm length backed up, half an inch shorter than Will Campbell came in at last year. I think he's going to play guard on the next level. And so, moving down a little bit, Concepcion to the Browns at 24. He's my dream pick for the Bills at 26. He's just a really good player. I think I have him at 10 on my big board right now. Very high on KC Concepcion. What else? Omar Cooper Jr., he's been rising a lot. I had not watched him. I've heard people give him first round buzz. I went and watched him. He's as good as advertised. He's just a really good football player. He can separate really well. He ran really well. I think he ran better than I was expecting him to. He's a first round caliber receiver. I'm not sure I'm ready to say he's my wide receiver 2 or 3, the way some people have lately, and have him as a top 10, 15 prospect, but I think he's really good. Cisse to the Rams at 29. Kind of feels like a poor man's Avion Terrell, in my opinion. He's not as talented in man coverage. I don't trust him anywhere near as much as zone. He's very raw, but the Rams need a corner, and he was the top one available. And then TJ Parker. Ooh, I want to talk about Branch. This is a guy that I think I'm going to end up higher on than 30 when my final rankings come out. I am such a sucker for that build, and I think he has more juice in the route running game than Georgia gave him the ability to. They didn't really have a prolific pro style offense that they ran last year. No offense to Gunnar Stockton, but he was mainly utilized as a yak guy. And to the Broncos at 30. I think that's awesome with that Sean Payton and Bo Nix system. But I also think that he can do more down the field than some teams have given him credit for. Is there anything on this list that you think I'm crazy for that's definitely not going to happen?
Well, I'll start with I love, like you said, the branch mock to the Broncos. I think that's the perfect fit for him. TJ Parker to the Patriots is another great fit. Of course, Concepcion to the Browns is a really good fit as well. If the Bears can get their hands on Peter Woods at 25, that's going to be the steal of the draft. I'll tell you that. Um, you'll see in a few minutes, very common with you on the Makai Lemon to the Steelers and the Mansour Delane to the Dolphins. Uh, I don't think there's that much that's crazy here, honestly. I don't think Jeremiah Love's going to drop to 8. I think someone's
Yeah.
going to take him before 8. However, if the Saints can get their hands on him, yes, that's amazing. I love the Ruben Bain pick to the Commanders. That's also in my mock. I'm trying to think of anything that's really crazy here. I mean, this is a pretty consistent draft. CJ Allen to the Panthers, that's going to be a mock spot for him this entire draft cycle. I really like that. Yeah, I don't
How
think
do
there's
you
much
feel
crazy here.
about how do you feel about Freeling? I haven't heard you talk. Like, what are your thoughts on him? Do you think he could play himself in this OT1 conversation?
100%. I think that, like you said, there's a lot of question marks. There's no, consistent tackle in this class as previous years have had. I don't think that you have one, two, three, four. You have 6 tackles going in the first round. I don't think that's going to happen. And I know that you're projecting some of them as guards in a
Yeah.
way. But even then, I mean, you have Ione in there. You're going to have 7 offensive linemen. I don't think that that's technically going to be the case here. There's too much talent otherwise for that to happen, in my opinion. But yeah, if the Ravens can, walk out at 14 with David Bailey, that is money, especially with Mike Green, their pick from last year who slid.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
amazing. And then
crazy. Yeah.
Sadiq at 15. I mean, that's the moneymaker. That's really the moneymaker. I'm interested with the Caleb Banks to the Jets. I feel like that with them moving to a 3-4 defense and then just getting Tavondre Sweat, that could be interesting how they would move him around.
Yeah.
Because would you move Sweat to that second defensive end position or would you put Banks in the nose tackle spot? I like it though. I feel like this is a very calm draft, and it's a lot different than mine because I'll go into mine right now, and there's a lot of crazy things going on. We'll reveal it to you guys right here. I have three big trades happening in this one. And it's going to be consensus along the board. I think Fernando Mendoza's one. I think Arbo Reese is two. I do think the Cardinals go get David Bailey at three. Yes, they have a good defense. Yes, they have good linebackers. Why not add a generational one? Who knows why? But the Titans at four are going to take Love. I like that. I went back and forth with the Giants. The Giants could go Styles. The Giants could go Styles. The Giants could go Downs. The Giants could go Carnell Tate. I chose Carnell Tate, which I feel like he uplifts them the best. And then at six, this is where the big trade happens. The Chiefs never are the ones trading up for players. They're actually at 32 all the time, taking just the best guy available for fun. They're going to trade up for Caleb Downs. And I mean, why not? You're going to lose a safety in free agency. Why not go get one of the highest floor players in this draft? I mean, he's bust proof, as I've heard Daniel Jeremiah or David, what's his name? Daniel Jeremiah say. Like, he's bust proof. He's not going to be a bust in this league. He's going to be great. I think at seven, yep, Ruben Bain all day to the Commanders. One of my favorite spots for Sonny Styles is the Saints. He's going to step right into that Demario Davis role, and he's basically just going to fill in for him for probably the next 10 to 15 years. I love that. And I do have Maui Noah going to the Browns at nine, who trade back and still get what they believe is the top tackle in the class. And then the big one, the Panthers are going to trade up from 19 to go get Sadiq.
Mm,
Why not? Why not? I mean, you got Ted already over there. You haven't had, I don't want to say stable, but you haven't had any crazy things happening from your tight end room the last few years. Same guys, Ian Thomas, all these guys doing the same thing every year. Go get one of the freak athletics of this draft and see what it happens with it. I mean, I love it. I'll go down the list a little bit. Peter Woods, I think is going to go before Caleb Banks. I do think that Caleb Banks going to the Ravens would be great, but I think in this scenario, Peter Woods goes there. I love the Keldrick Folk pick to the Bucks. I think the Jets here, they just say, you know what, let's go get this Dermod McCoy kid who's just sliding a little bit because of his injury history, and they walk out with a linebacker and a corner. Oh, wait, and then I have them trading up to number 30 to draft Ty Simpson. In the back of this draft, they're going to trade they're going to trade up five picks because they're
yeah,
the second pick in the second round. But at the same time, you get that fifth year option for him,
that's the
and you walk out
Jacksonville
of the
thing.
draft with an unbelievable plethora of players, which on your board, you're getting the number. It depends what you think Arvell Reese is, but you're getting a top two, top three player in this class. You're getting the top corner on your list, and you're getting the top quarterback on your list. So I feel like that's a pretty good haul for the Jets team. Um, yeah, a little bit farther down, I love CJ Allen to the Cowboys,
Yeah.
especially after they released Logan Wilson. I really like that. Obviously, I have Mekhi Lemon going 21 to the Steelers like you. I think that he's like I said, very similar to the Matthew Golden. He's going to be late first round, middle to late. I can't see him going top 15 anymore. I'm sorry. I just can't see
I
it.
can't either.
It's hard. And then TJ Parker to the Eagles. I mean, Eagles do it again. They get a great defensive player in the first round. They just always have the guy fall into them. It's crazy to see. Got your Bears taking Emmanuel Nikhil Warren.
Yeah.
Why not? Just go get a safety. You got multiple safeties who are going to hit free agency this year. Figure it out. You go get one of the best guys in the class. I have Concepcion and Boston going back to back. Concepcion to your favorite spot for him, the
Love
Buffalo
it.
Bills.
So
It's
good.
money. It's a match made in heaven. They need it. Hopefully, they can use him properly. Denzel Boston got to fill a need for the Niners at 27 with everything that they are going to lose. I got your boy Monroe Freeland at 28 to the Texans. And then 31, Dylan Thieneman, like I said, he's going to play his way into the first round. And then, of course, my Seattle Seahawks take a guy that I can't stop mocking him there after his interviews talking about how, he loves the Seahawks. It's going to be Anthony Hill Jr. Every time we need a linebacker, go get you a linebacker at 32. Why not? Is
Yeah.
there anything in this list that shocks you in a way?
Hmm. Let's see. I don't know if I the David Bailey thing's interesting. Like I don't know if I see him as a top ending up as a top three, top five pick in this draft. I think you're right. I think if he's gonna go top. that range, it's going to be the Cardinals because I don't think the Jets are going to take him. I don't think that many teams after him are going to take him. I think his range really starts at 7 with the Commanders. Um, what else shocks me here? Obviously, the Sadiq pick is interesting. I think I don't know if they're in a position to give up that much assets to jump 9 picks to get him, but to put him in that offense with Bryce and Tet would be awesome. Mesidor at 12. I'm just not there. I didn't like the tape as much as I thought I would. The the problem with him is the same as before. Like he's just a powerful player that doesn't defend the run that well. And so translating a 25-year-old to the NFL that's weighs as much as he does, that doesn't defend the run that well, that's a one rush move, pass rush kind of guy. Like I think there's a role for him. I just don't think it's at 12. So that's the one thing I would say. Other than that, though, a lot of this makes a lot of sense. I like a lot of it. I like Tyson at 24. I'm similar. What you said about Lemon is how I feel about Tyson, and I just think the stock's fallen for him. I was never that high on the film, and with all the injury history, I think there's a lot of people that are starting to come to their senses with him.
He was top 10 on my last big board. And you're going to see pretty soon here, once we do our updated top 75 big boards, that he's not going to be in my top 10 anymore. He just slid a little too far. I think it's going to be very interesting to see a lot of these guys. I'll hit on one thing real quick. Did Arvel Reese this week, and we didn't talk about him, and we should have talked about him because he had a great combine as well.
Great
Did he
combine.
cement himself as the number 2 overall pick in this class?
I was doing my mock draft same way you probably were, and I was like, I just don't see a world where they don't take him here. Like I feel like it's outside of Mendoza at 1. It just feels like the most cemented pick in the draft, and I just feel like a couple weeks ago we were like, okay, the draft really starts at 2. And I kind of feel like the draft starts at 3 now. I feel like this is a pretty easy Reese pick. He's such a freak athlete. He played so well last year. We could talk about everything we've talked about before. You've heard Arvell Reese's stock a hundred times. So I trust that that's going to be the pick. I hope they develop him. But I'm with you. I can't see it going anywhere else.
Yeah, that's pretty consensus here. I think Arvel Reese will be a Jet. And that'll be it for us and Snap Count. We thank you guys so much for tuning in from YouTube, from the podcast, wherever you're from. Thank you so much. And you want to stay tuned because we got so much more coming. I mean, we got position ranks, we got big boards. You just got our mock this week. We're going to have another mock next week. We're going to go into free agency mode pretty soon here, pretty quickly, because free agency starts next Wednesday, which is crazy to say.
Um,
Awesome. We thank you guys. Niko the Draft Guy, Peyton the Draft Guy, signing off.